is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are here with our takeaways from the Detroit Lions season opening matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles in a narrow defeat, 38-35. So let's get it started.
Fired up. It's made a great decision.
Great teammates, coaches, and other people who want to be Super Bowl champions. And we are. We're going to do it this year.
And we're going places, because we want to go places.
Touchdown, Detroit Lions!
Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome everybody to another video. Glad you guys are here, and we're back with our takeaways from the Lions' first game. I know this is a little bit later than maybe you're expecting to get this type of video. The schedule is probably going to be a little bit different this year on how we do things and when we get certain videos out. However, this whole week was just strange for me because I didn't get to watch the game. You know, we didn't stream it as usual, so it's a little bit different. So I just kind of listened to it through Dan Miller, who did an outstanding job. I mean, it's still different, but he did a great job, and the plays that I did get to hear, it was sweet. However, I had to wait a little bit, go back, rewatch the game. I've done that now like once or twice. However, most recently I got the all-22 of it, so I got to rewatch it through the all-22 version. And you know, that's, to me, that's just what I'm waiting for. So because of that, there may be another video a little bit later this week where we look at something specific. Let me know in the comment section if there's something specific that you want us to take a look at, whether that's some part of the offense, the quarterback play, the receivers, defensively, good things, bad things. We may do another video more specific down the road this week before we get to our second week game against Washington. However, in this video, it's kind of just my overview, my overall take from this game after watching it. I can't really say rewatching it because I didn't get to watch it live. So it's like, okay, I can't really talk about it if I don't get to see it. It's one thing to hear it, but I can't tell you what I think happened and, you know, how I feel about certain things if I don't get to see the game. So I had to wait on that to get an opportunity to rewatch the game. All right, so with that, we're going to dive into my takeaways from the Lions season opener. Kind of a quick little recap. I'm sure you didn't forget, but I'll just lay it out there on how this game went down. It started off outstanding for the Lions. I mean, the Lions scored first. They got up 7-0, 4+ minute drive that the Lions had. And then defensively, they ended up getting a stop on 4th down. So this is like the first 2 possessions of the game. And you know me, I was hype. Listening to Dan Miller call it the pass breakup. Jeff Okudah on Devontae Smith, who did hold his own against Devontae Smith, as he said after the game. That was a heck of a start for the Lions. But then after that, things sort of went downhill, specifically starting with the offense. And that was because the next 4 drives were not very good at all. 3 3-and-outs and a pick 6. The Lions found themselves in a 21-7 hole pretty quickly there after the interception, 4-6. But it was great. Before half, the Lions offense did respond, went down the field, scored a touchdown, which was huge because they had a monstrous 3rd down pickup, 5 pickup that the Lions had to Josh Reynolds. It wasn't like the longest distance, but it was a big time pickup. It was also a pretty big play, and we'll take a look at that one. But after that point, the Lions really offensively found a rhythm, and Dan Campbell talked a lot about it because having that rhythm, you were able to really play through the play action. And I think there was a couple little tweaks that were made, but it was a lot of that. You know, a lot of less mental errors where it was, okay, hey, bad snap here or drop here or bad decision, bad communication. And when we had a lot of those errors in that kind of dry spell offensively, it shut down those drives quickly. And that's what it can be. We even said before the game, like, hey, it's week 1. All right, it's going to be ugly in its own way. And unfortunately for the Lions, it was more ugly on our side of the ball than it was for Philadelphia. But we bounced back. Philly got a field goal before half. Defensively, we gave up 24 points in the second quarter. Okay, we struggled in this game defensively, which is why we gave up 38 points. Into the second half, Philadelphia goes down. They scored a touchdown to open up the half. The Lions offense once again responds. They score 31-21. Now the Lions offense is starting to find a rhythm. After that dry spell, once they scored a touchdown, here's how their final drives went. They went touchdown, halftime, touchdown, touchdown, punt, touchdown. And the only punt that they had in there was because of a drop by Josh Reynolds on a huge play that he dropped it. And then we came back and had a bad snap, which led to a sack. That was it. The Lions offense was cooking after that dry spell. Once they figured it out, they were cooking offensively and kind of dictating what the defense was going to throw at them by how they were attacking them. It was great. Defensively, the Lions found a little bit of resistance there towards the end of the game. But before we get to that, the Lions tried an onside kick, and I won't spend too much time on this. I don't know if this is worth discussing or not, but I thought I would at least bring it up because I'm sure people are talking about the Lions trying an onside, whether or not it was good or bad. Personally, for me, I really don't think it was a big deal. I mean, I understand the reasoning behind it. I have no issue with the reasoning behind it. Hey, look, if you're going to do an onside kick, it's probably best to do it when they're not expecting it rather than just go out there and they know the onside's coming. And it's like, well, probably got a less % chance of picking that up. So you do when they're not expecting it. Unfortunately, it didn't work. But also where the game was at, being down by 10 points, 4 minutes left in the third quarter. Defensively, you were really struggling at this point, giving up just, even if it wasn't a touchdown, just long drives, in which how much Philadelphia runs the football can absolutely just eat up the clock. So Dan Campbell's thing was, hey, look, yeah, if they get it back, at least they have a shorter field. So that way, if we can hold them to a field goal, it's still only a 2-score game. If we do give up a touchdown, which is not ideal, then at least it was a shorter touchdown drive than would have been if we kicked it away. That was kind of his thinking. And it's not good because it's like, well, he doesn't have faith in the defense. But it's also kind of being adaptive to how the game is going. It's like, hey, look, reality is it's not going well defensively. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea to try this. And I like that, right? It's not being like, okay, well, this is not a good look for the defense. Well, look, we're not playing well, so try something. Okay, there you go. We tried it. It didn't work. They ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive. But again, then shout out to the offense. As we said, they ended up responding. They made it a 10-point game. Then the defense started to come alive a little bit, and they got a couple of stops for us, which I think partly was because we didn't have some of those mistakes in there. We really started to dial it in. I think it tightened things up. We still had issues in the second half, specifically that final drive where we gave up the first downs, the 2 first downs, but we really started to tighten things up, specifically I think in the linebacker play, but also just the small things, just alignment issues, being in a spot where you have a realistic opportunity to make a play on the football, communication between linebackers. We really started to kind of tighten those things up. But Aaron Glenn, for the majority of this game, was extremely aggressive on defense. Now, he did mix in his 3-man rushes and things like that, but he was very aggressive in this game, and actually, yes, it did backfire, but at the same time, sometimes it did make big plays for us. Specifically, like you look at towards the end of the game where we had the pass batted down when they try to hit us with this quick screen. We showed 7 guys. We brought 7. We did that a couple of times. We brought 7 rushers, and I actually think both times we did it, it actually worked out positively for the Lions. But unfortunately, it was just short after that throw to DJ Chark. Stop it now. I heard it was great. It was on Slay. Got to watch it. I was like, dang, that is fire. Made it a 3-point game. We're thinking we got a shot at this, and we really did. Like, we really had a shot, and it was a little bit unlike last year because, yes, last year was close, but just the way that last year got close was we had to get an onside to go our way. We had multiple 2-point conversions. We had a fumble forced by Trey Flowers. There's a lot of things that really kind of went our way. That's what it takes. That's football, right? There's a lot of tight games. You have to have a couple of plays go to your direction. Last year, we had a few of those happen to make that week 1 game close. This one, we found ourselves in a pretty nice hole, 17 points, but I think in this one, offensively, we definitely looked much better. And even some players said after the game, like, we left points out there. We should have scored 50 in this game. And honestly, I don't disagree with them because if you take away some of these self-inflicted things, there's no reason to believe the Lions offense couldn't have rolled like this the entire game. Seriously. But that was encouraging. The Detroit Lions can actually score some points. I mean, that was the hype. It was like, hey, this offense is going to be reliable. They're going to be able to run the football. Well, keep in mind, you had a legit challenge in this game. We don't know how Philadelphia is going to end the season, but I can tell you last year they only allowed 4 yards per carry. They were one of the better run defenses. And this year, obviously, with their defensive front, without Big V, it was going to be a tough matchup, and the Lions handled it. Give a lot of credit to how Ben Johnson schemed it up and what he was doing offensively to attack their defense, but the Detroit Lions showed we can score some points. We just got to stop making these dumb mistakes. It almost became clear to me at one point there as a whole that the Detroit Lions, the idea of having multiple weapons is there are so many different, like, active players every time Jared Goff goes to the line of scrimmage. Meaning there's so many different ways he can go with the ball. Yet at the same time, it not post-snap where I see, like, so many different ways he can go with the ball. I think pre-snap, there was a lot of decision-making pre-snap for Goff, and I thought it was great. It carried on from last year. I think a lot of what we saw last year carried on, and by the time we got to the second half and really settled in offensively, I thought a lot of the pre-snap things you were seeing Jared do, whether they worked or not, they're not always going to work. You could feel the command that he had off the offense, but also how he was using pre-snap identifiers to try to figure out where to go with the football. And again, you get the ball so fast out in your hands. You're a pocket quarterback. He's not running all over the place. He's got to have a pretty good idea of where he wants to go with the football based on what he's seeing pretty quickly. And the Lions did a good job of some concepts, but also giving some key identifiers offensively where we started to roll. And not everything's going to be a big shot, but we started to have really good efficiency offensively. You tie that in with a run game that was pretty darn good, especially with just the different ways we attacked it, the offense showed we can score some points. Defensively was a little bit different story. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about this offense, then we'll go to the defensive side. So as you said, the Lions ran the ball well. Now, of course, they had a 50-yard run in there early in the game. They had 6.5 yards per carry, which is fantastic, of course. And, of course, all this is basically to the running backs. You had the one scramble by Goff, which was kind of cool on the 3rd and 7th. Little juke, I see you with there, JG. Stop. Okay, 181 yards, 6.5 yards per carry on 28 rushing attempts. That's really good. Against this defensive front, that was really good to see, and it really did feel like when we started to kind of open up this offense a little bit, spread them out a little bit, specifically when we were kind of in that lull and then we worked our way out of it. We came out of that drive, spread them out. We got some 2 high looks defensively. We were able to attack that on the ground, and they did play a lot of single high safety, but then at the same time, when they went single high safety, specifically in the second half, we had answers for it. We can run the football, and if we stop making some of these dumb mistakes, now we can be really tough and efficient offensively. Even with that, you still got to give the Eagles credit because there were times, specifically up front, where we blow a block, right? Logan Stenberg had some issues. He had the back-to-back false starts. He also had some blown blocks in the run and the pass game. The interception, he was actually completely beat. I think it was by Fletcher Cox, and then the interception. But, you stop making some of those, which is something that's way easier said than done because we really need to. But it did show how dynamic this offense could be, that they could hang 35 points, legitimate 35 points. Specifically speaking out the run game, love the way that the Lions schemed it up offensively. And of course, when you have success, it's easy to say that. But really, I should have thought about this more because I was thinking about the flip side and how they're going to attack us. Well, Philadelphia, with as aggressive as their defensive front was, the Lions just said, you know what, we're going to take advantage of that. And we really felt it on the first drive. But all the traps, the whams, all those blocking schemes that the Lions threw to really allow that upfield penetration and work into the second level was awesome. We had a couple of screens mixed in there, one to Swift on the little play action, come back to him, TJ Hockenson on a little tight end screen. But those 2 blocking schemes, also I love the outside blocking schemes that we had. They weren't all great. We had a couple of tosses that didn't go. Some of them did go well, but specifically in the red zone, right? Some of the creativity there. I love the one with DJ Chark kind of just pinning down the defender, and then you have Taylor Decker kicking outside and Amon-Ra in a fast motion to the left out to lead block. That was an awesome quick little play on a 4th and 1 that the Lions had to get the first down. I just thought the blocking schemes were really well done. It wasn't all great, right? There were some bad runs in this game. We did some zone running. We mixed really all of it in, but I thought the way the Lions tried to use the penetration against them was very noticeable. Now, I do want to show a little love to that man, TJ Hockenson. This is actually a tight end screen that they're going to do here, and I just like this because look at Sewell and Stenberg. Look at Sewell, man, like a veteran, uplifting his man Stenberg after this play. You see him point him out? I love that. But TJ Hockenson, he had his bad ones like this, but look at this pass protection rep. Are you kidding me? Against Josh Sweat, he also had a great block on Hargrave. And it worked, and it was awesome. But at the same time, still give the guys straight up credit because some of these guys, they didn't always win, right? It was a dogfight in the inside, but there were good reps from the Lions offensive line where we were getting great push. Penei Sewell, he lost a couple battles, right? There was one edge play where he lost it, and he gave up a tackle for loss. However, there was also plays where he's just bullying his guy 5 yards back into the play, and you're like, dang, I thought Taylor Decker was super efficient as a run blocker in this game. Donald Jackson had some misses, had some really good ones. Frank had some misses, had some good ones. Logan Stenberg had more struggles, it seemed like, by the eye test and all of the other guys. Even then, he had a couple of good blocks in there, but he seemed a little bit struggle. But of course, he's the backup. It was his first time starting, so you kind of anticipated some of that. Let's talk about those drives where the Lions kind of stalled out offensively, and how did that really happen? I kind of just touched on it and said, look, Lions had some mistakes in there. Well, the first drive, that was the 3 and out. We started off with a tunnel and a little tunnel screen at Amon-Ra, and we did this a couple times last year. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. You get the idea of it. This one ball probably could have been a little bit lower, a little bit quicker to St. Brown, been easier for him. Sewell was also unable to get out there, and then Epps made the play, kind of blew that one up. And that was, that's the theme, man. You get behind the chains, it's really tough to pick these things up, especially with this team, because specifically early in this game, we started to figure it out as the game went on. Early in this game, we had some trouble communication when there was an extra or a free rusher, where I'm going with the ball versus where you're going with the football. We had some communication issues, and I know you can blame it on preseason a little bit, maybe that we didn't play that. Some say it's an issue, some say it's not, because you're not really even playing real schemes. The point is, there was some communication breakdowns early, and we kind of settled in as the game went on. We were able to find a rhythm offensively. The first one was, they called it a pass to Amon-Ra. I don't even know who he was throwing to on this play. It looks like he was maybe throwing to Josh. Chark looked like he wanted it pre-snap, like he recognized, hey, there's probably a blitz, so let me be maybe you're a hot route guy, and he decided, no, I'm not going there, I got it. So took the snap, and it looked like he was looking for St. Brown underneath, and then he kind of faked it and threw it behind. I think he was throwing to Josh, but I don't know what was going on there. So that was the first 3 and out. The next one started off with a couple of very short runs. You had a 1-yard one, which was a toss right that maybe you could have got upfield and probably picked up a few more yards for Swift. By the way, give Swift a lot of credit. He ran his butt off in this game. I didn't know how he would do. I said, hey, Jamal, Craig are guys that I'm looking for. This guy was outstanding in this game. DoseOfDion actually pointed this one out to me. DeAndre Swift, the stuff like this, according to Deuce Staley, we all started Hard Knocks, right? Not going out of bounds, staying inbounds. Go make a play. I love it. The most part, and that one wasn't great. Then we came back with a power run where you kind of had Brock Wright just kind of shoved off in the interior there. That run didn't go for much. Now you find yourself in a 3rd and 7 situation. Offense of throwing what looked like what should have been maybe the hot read there. You had some off coverage on the outside by Slay, and he threw the out route. Chark just went and ran like a go route, and there was nothing there, so that pass was incomplete. They brought 5 rushers. Sewell was kind of beat on the edge by what they were showing defensively, so it was that's how the second drive ended. So you're really not finding a rhythm, and you're not responding really well to some of those rushes they're throwing at us the first 2 drives. Then the third drive comes around. You throw a pass to TJ Hockenson. You could say it's a drop pass. There was actually, I think, 5 or 6 drop passes I counted in this game, and I'm not saying like, well, is that a drop or is that a bad throw? Like, no, these are like routine catches that all these guys have made, and you're having 5-6 drop passes in this game. That's not going to help you. You have an incomplete pass to TJ Hockenson over middle. They went 3 straight passes here, which I'm not saying I don't like it. I mean, I get it, right? I mean, hey, the first 2 drives, you tried to run the ball. They didn't go well. Then he came back. Okay, let's throw it. You have a drop pass by Hockenson. You're not finding a rhythm there, and then it gets contagious. There's a drop pass. Then he threw into Hockenson. I thought he stared it down, threw it to Hockenson, didn't get the linebacker to move off, and he ended up breaking it up. And then on the 3rd down, I like the play design. You tried to kind of pull the safety off. Looked like a cover 4 with DJ Chark. It did not happen. The safety kind of jumped back down and broke this thing up from behind. It was a great play by the defensive back there to break this up. So that was your 3rd possession. And then your 4th one was the pick 6, or the 5th possession, but your 4th, straight bad possession was the pick 6 that you threw to TJ Hockenson, which again, you're in a 2nd and long, you're in a 2nd and 16 here, and this takes me to kind of Goff seemingly doing a lot of pre-snap reads, and that's why your communication with the receivers needs to be perfect, because there's a lot of that seemingly. And here with Hockenson, he ran the stick nod, and you have Jared Goff throwing the stick route. Also, Logan Stenberg was just cleanly beat, so he had to get the ball out of his hands, and you're in 2nd and long, and it turns into a pick 6. That's how the game was for us. But once we kind of settled in, still a lot of that pre-snap stuff was there, but there was a lot of seemingly the Detroit Lions being on the same page. Also, not as much finding themselves in these terrible situations where they were able to find a rhythm rather than just like, all right, here's 2 bad runs, 3rd and 8, let's go. Like, that's not the spot you want to be in. It's too easy for the defense. So you have them kind of spread it out then their next drive, and they hit a little underneath like curl route there to DJ Chark. Then they come back on a 3rd and 5, and they hit this deep corner route with the single high safety. They were getting the safety on, their slot a lot, and they had their leverage naturally there. So then they hit that corner route. They tried that a couple times it hit. They also had a drop like this on a deep crossing route for Josh Reynolds later in the game, which is another one of those drops. Jamal had a drop. Hockenson had a drop. St. Brown had 2 drops in this game. There was just too many routine drops. Guys that you rely upon making just, easy mistakes. Nothing the defense did. You got to make the play, and they were making some mistakes in there, right? The bad snap from Frank Ragnow. Obviously, that one turned into a sack, which was the only, like I said, punting drive you had. Aside from that, you had like 4 straight touchdown drives. You take that one out, you might score again, and you were in a great field position spot coming off the punt. And of course, you get a bad snap in there. He's trying to pick it up off the ground, and he gets sacked. But a little bit more on the offense, specifically with Goff. I thought I really liked what I saw because, again, I felt that command there, and I felt him really settle into this game, making a lot of pre-snap reads where it was like, okay, there was one where it looked like a cover 3 drop, and I thought that Hockenson was probably the right read here. He's threw the out route to St. Brown, but he's getting on the same look, right? He has the inside leverage. They know it's zone coverage. They use motion like before every single play to give him some identifiers. You got the off coverage, and then boom, there you go. You throw the out route. One of them that I thought was clear to me, as we said on the corner route, ended up having the out route underneath by Chark, and that's going to hold that outside cornerback. Then you have that seam space over the cornerback, which was that, deep corner route over top. You also had another one where you had a quick route underneath on the outside, which kind of set up the slot receiver. So there was a lot of that, like, okay, here's the leverage of the defense. Here's where I'm going to look to attack based on what I'm seeing here. And then you also saw a lot of concepts carry over from last season, right? A lot of the kind of fast motion. Here comes my receiver, and we're going to force the defense to try to pass him off in zone coverage. They did that to DJ Chark last year, did it to St. Brown. So I feel like you just have a lot more guys. The defense pre-snap has to come out and say, okay, we got to watch out cover this guy, this guy, this guy, versus last year where sometimes it would be like, okay, watch for St. Brown or watch for Hawk. But aside from that, Hawk wasn't always there. Who were we really worried about defensively? Now you got a lot of guys, the defense coming out saying we got to worry about this one. And as long as Goff can get that pre-snap identifier, which can help him, not all the time, but it can help him, and then it's like, okay, let me make decisions based on that. And it makes it really tough for defenses to match up one-on-one. And that's what's important, is you're putting that in Goff's hands. That's why I thought the biggest jump needed to be made. And even though there were some miscommunications in there, I thought it absolutely was shown off. It was made. There was a great example, 3rd down. Lions come out. They got a free rusher off the edge. Does he panic? No. He takes a couple steps back, hold on to it to wait till Swift sees him, throws it into the flat 1st down pickup. I'm like, that's an outstanding play. That is great. That's what we want. It's things like that we need to see from Goff to know that he's taking that, next step. If we want to know, there you go. They also still do their quick up-tempo, snap it, throw a quick stick route. You got DJ Chark picks up a good 1st down. So they still utilize stuff like that. They showed a lot of things from last year. There was a lot of times where he would just throw the ball away, and that's okay. Especially on early downs. 3rd down is a little bit tougher, but like the one that he threw deep to DJ Chark, you just came off, I think it was a completion, and you go deep, you just basically throw it away to Chark's side. You got a free rusher off the edge, cornerback blitz. You didn't really notice that was coming, but as soon as he noticed it, he just throws it away. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all, right? Instead of standing there and not knowing where to go with the football, it was an immediate reaction. Here we go. I'm throwing that thing away. And that's awesome. Live the fire and down. We end up, I think, scoring a touchdown that possession. Of course, probably my favorite throw from Goff on the day was definitely the touchdown to DJ Chark, which I thought was awesome. They tried to hit it earlier. Chark had another drop, so there was about 6. Chark had the drop, right? They have off coverage. Again, we talk about playing based on the coverage. Sees off coverage one-on-one, so he's like, hey, look, I'm just going to throw this quick curl route to you, okay? And he knew it. He looked there. He threw it at him, and he just dropped it. It was the first drive. At least it didn't cost his touchdown. We ended up scoring anyway. But to stay with back-to-back penalties, to stay composed and pick up that 1st down, right, to come back, have a good run, have Hawkinson kind of run an over-under route against his own coverage, and have that outside receiver really pull that outside corner and have Hawkinson come underneath and reach out, pick up the 1st down. I love the concept designs, right? The one where you kind of stack, I think it was Chark and St. Brown just follows him and then breaks off late, beats his own coverage. Goff puts it on the money. So there was so many of those that there was I counted, I think, like 3 legitimate, I think, misfires from Goff in this game. I think there's about 3. Even the deep one to Chark later in the game. It's like, man, Chark, you don't turn back and look for the ball. You got a shot at that one, right? But then even I counted the one with the misfire to Khalif, deep corner route. But even stuff like that, like he knew, he's like, okay, safety single high, boom, here's what we got. I'm going to take the 7-step drop. I'm going to give it a shot out there to Khalif Raymond. Just did not happen. But that was the kind of sense that I got as the game went on, and that comfortability that he had in this offense. Oh, it makes me so excited, right? It just makes me so excited about what the future of this offense is, because with that command, you really open up so much that he can do, and he just felt really comfortable in this game. It was kind of sparked from, hey, Fletcher Cox pushed him after the play. He steps in his face. The offensive line's over there to kind of like, hey, get off my man. You know what I'm saying? And, you get the 3rd down pickup, just that comfortability, standing in the pocket. He took 1 sack in this game. With the amount of pressures, that's unreal. I mean, that would not have been the case last year. 1 sack. And like the 3rd down play, I love the design, right? You have kind of the angle route, and then you have St. Brown running a whip route, and you have the angle route hit first. He's looking there, stands in the pocket. Here comes the pressure, and then you come back and you hit St. Brown on his whip route on the outside. I'm like, dude, this is beautiful stuff. That's awesome. That's awesome. But you got to clean up some of the mental stuff. You're not always going to have good plays. Some guys just lost reps sometimes, but it happens. But yeah, the best throw to me was the one to Chark. You got him one-on-one on the outside, and oh my goodness. I mean, it went right by Slate's. I mean, that's his best ball. It really is. Go route, right side, about 25 yards. That's what a deep pass is to me. I don't care. That's what a deep pass is to me. You hit that, we're good to go. And we had a couple deep passes. One, you had a chance that was dropped to Josh. That one, oh, that was beautiful. Ooh, that thing was pretty, man. But anyways, it gave me some optimism, but obviously you can't get yourself in those lulls, and I think some of that was personal mistakes. I think some of that was you got to be on the same page earlier, right? We can't have you trying to settle into 3rd downs this late into the game, and also how you're attacking this defense, right? That's got to settle in, but a lot of self-inflicted stuff early there. It wasn't great defensively, which was expected. This was going to be a challenge because this offense is good. And they scored a lot of points. They'll have some bad games. If you slow down the run at all, you can give them some issues, but at the same time, they're a very dynamic offense with a lot of weapons, yet I felt like the Lions had good stretches, but they also had some awful stretches in there. You could call it like self-inflicted, but just not doing what we were supposed to do, right? There were times where, there was one in the end zone, Alex Anzalone. He's in there, he's got his gap to fill, and for some reason he's watching the quarterback, and all of a sudden they just run through his gap. It's like, dude, just go that way, and you would have been fine. Nope, you're staring at the quarterback. And you look at a guy like Malcolm, who I thought was extremely consistent in this game. I thought he was the best linebacker in this game. He was really good to me. Even had a couple little things like that, right? He had a couple little things like that, like when he got caught watching the quarterback, he all of a sudden takes off and does a draw, and there's no one there for the quarterback. He had a couple little ones, but for the most part, he was where he's supposed to be. You're like, hey, be here, he's there. And as the game went on, you felt like in the second half, with him and Alex and filling their lanes correctly, right, having your edge rusher. Even Aiden Hutchinson had some lapses, I think, early in this one. But him squeezing down, all of a sudden, okay, here comes Malcolm kick out, and then Alex slides over, and you're like, oh, they're filling that routinely. All of a sudden, that became much more consistent. You got a couple of stops in there because he didn't have always those big chunk plays. Sometimes, like Okudah specifically, he would be the force player on the outside, and he'd line up 10 yards off. No one was coming out. You're in zone coverage. Dude, come down a little bit. And he was just like sitting back there. They'd just run it to that side, and he'd make the tackle, but it's like, dude, it's a 10-yard pickup. Then the very next time I saw it, he adjusts. He's back up much closer to the line. It's a short gain. It's like things like that. That's just got to be, that you can't always have to see it first because then you give up a chunk. We got to be on that. We got to notice that. And some of that you hope it's because it's week one that it's going to be better. On the defensive line, yes, we know they were aggressive. I thought John Kaminsky showed just how tremendous of an athlete he really is. Like that is an athlete right there. Ali McNeil did some good work in the interior as well, which was good to see. I mean, he won some of his matchups in there, but I think it was a lot of just responsibilities, a lot of fits that the Lions were inconsistent with in this game, which gave them problems specifically against the run game. But then in the pass game too, you had some inconsistent fits. They had some issues in zone coverage scrambles, which was very identical to what happened to us last year on a couple scrambles where you'd pull our linebackers out of the play. Very early in this game, Alex and Malcolm Rodriguez were covering the same guy, and I think Malcolm did it right, and Alex, was kind of over there too, and there was no one watching the quarterback anymore. But to not just bash on Alex, because Alex did some good things, he was just a little bit more hit and miss in this game, where Alex is willing to take the risk. He has a veteran feel to the game, right? He's not always like, this is where I'm going to be there. He has that veteran feel to him, where there are times he'll just pass off routes to a safety and just go take this, like the crosser he had. He just passed it off to the safety, took on the crosser. There was already a guy covering him, but he got more in the play, and he helped break that up. But that also comes back to fire him because sometimes it's like, dude, just get where you're supposed to be, and he's just standing there and not doing it. He's watching something else. He gets on his own head, and he's not where he's supposed to be. So you have those inconsistencies. Alex a little bit more hit and miss. Malcolm was pretty much where you wanted him to be. Still, though, as a whole, there were issues, some tackling issues. There were a couple times, as Dan Campbell said, where we didn't run through the tackle. We kind of just lunged. I thought Derek Barnes had a lot of inconsistencies there, whether it was lunging at a missed tackle. There was a little beneath route they hit to us on a play action where he kind of hesitated, then covered it. He's open. That's all he needs is that hesitation, and he's open. Things like that. Mike Hughes, I thought he had a good game. He really didn't hear much from the slot. Maybe that's because they didn't really throw to him, but he even had a breakdown, right? There was a breakdown for Mike Hughes. He kind of bites inside. He just leaves his guy, and all of a sudden it's a huge pickup on the outside. There were little breakdowns. Juju Hughes, there was one in the end zone. He's got his lane to fill. It's like, dude, if you fill that, that's the only lane that he can go through. Everybody else is filling their lane, and he kind of hesitates, then hits him. It's like, dude, you're like 180 pounds, he's going to run you over, and that's what he did, and he scored a touchdown on that play. Charles Harris, I think, was pretty reliable as the game went on, setting the edge against the run. I thought he was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, the pass rush, the blitzing, the aggressiveness, I think was okay because it led to some good things. But against this team, especially if you're going to be aggressive, you're not just dropping 8 all the time in zone. Lions did some aggressive man things. You better be on your fits. If you got the quarterback, you got the quarterback. Like, you can't be looking elsewhere. You got to be on that. And there were times where the Lions were not on that. And there were obviously some missed tackles in there, too many missed tackles, a couple from Derek Barnes. We had that run stuff at the end there, and no one really drove through the tackle, and he bounces out. You had a couple things like that popped up. It just makes it really important. The Lions are going to be super disciplined this year. Chris Board, I think, had an opportunity in open field. He didn't make the play. It's like, you got to be on it. I thought Okudah played a nice game, and I thought Okudah was great because obviously we haven't seen him play in so long. Wasn't perfect. A couple times he got flipped around by A.J. Brown, but who didn't? A.J. Brown ran a nasty route on Amani. I mean, they're playing off coverage. It was nasty. It was clean. I'll give it to him. Right, Okudah got beat a couple times, but first off, the PI, it got offset. How in the world is that PI? Like, I feel like this is no bias at all. I'm looking at this play, and I'm watching all 22, so you don't really know it's a flag because commentators aren't talking. But you see it, and you see the flag. I'm like, how in the world is that? I have no idea how this is pass interference. Absolutely no idea. I guess it's a good thing the penalty's offset because this made no sense to me. Absolutely no sense. And there's always some of that in games. You're just like, I don't get this. How is that not intentional grounding? But then there's also the flip side of it where there was one of ours, and it's like, did Hockenson really catch that pass? I think he did, but I don't know. I really don't know. There's a couple of those in there for both sides. When the person fouls after the play, it's like, is that really a personal foul? Or, like, oh, he shouldn't have done that, right? Tracy gets thrown out, which was huge because Tracy was being a big-time playmaker in this game. I actually don't have an issue with the aggressiveness. I think it led to big plays for us, but it really put put emphasis on how disciplined we had to be, and when we weren't, Jalen Hurts said, yeah, I'm gonna have to take that. But Jeff Okudah, I think, honestly, I thought he had a pretty good game. I mean, he really did. I thought he held his own. He gave up like one reception to Devontae when he got in his blind spot and kind of sat it down. But aside from that, he was good in terms of he was pressing pretty consistently, which throwing off routes early, I loved that. He was tackling his butt off. If it wasn't for, being a little too far off the ball a few times, he was tackling really well. The one tunnel screen that he shut down, obviously Malcolm shut one down as well. Like, I thought Okudah was pretty darn good in this game. I mean, I was like, okay, Okudah's doing some things. Amani wasn't bad either. He had some bad ones. He had a whiff like on a press where they ended up getting behind him in zone. They hit like that hole right there between the safety and corner because he whiffed on his zone. But some of that happened. Some of that did happen to Amani. And again, I don't look at him as like a lockdown cornerback just because I don't think his man abilities are like that. But he can definitely make some plays. All right, so I guess this is our backup camera. The other one just died, so we'll just end it like this. This looks terrible, I understand, but we're just going to end it like this. But anyway, I think Malcolm's got to continue to start. They mixed in a lot of linebackers in this game, but man, he's just reliable. That's what you feel like whenever he's on the field. He's going to be where he's supposed to be, and he could really set the tone. He rarely ever seems to miss an open field tackle. I mean, it's just like when he gets his hands on someone, he's going down. He just does not miss tackles when he gets wrapped up. That's what it always seems like. Will was beat on that deep play because I guess Okudah was having some cramps, and it's like that's unfortunate. They were going to attack him again. He was coming right back to him in the end zone, but it was batted down. Austin Bryant, I thought, showed that, you can have some legitimate, reliable depth behind that. And John Kaminsky, because of how good as an athlete was, he gave a little bit of breather to Aiden Hutchinson at a point in that game, sliding outside. But I still love him from the interior, and clearly the Lions like him too. I also love the creativity defensively of when we put Charles and Hutch next to each other. One time it led John Kaminsky to being completely unblocked inside because there was so much attention for three offensive linemen of those two. He just ran through unblocked. I like that. That is cool. When they put Charles and Hutch next to each other, it just demands attention immediately from the offense. Regardless if they do anything or not, it just demands attention. There's a twist in there that no one really came through, and it led to a gaping hole. So you got to be like, if you got to do something, you got to do it against a team like this that runs. It's going to be great to see this pass rush against a team that's a little bit more pocket oriented, like next week. Yeah, okay, Carson will get out of his pocket and do some things, but it's not like this. It's not all this read option stuff. It'll be nice to see it, just to see like what this pressure can be. Obviously, it's going to come down to the run game, and I think the Lions' run game will be much more consistent because I love how this aggressive defense looked. You just got to fill your lanes. You got to be where you're supposed to be against this team, and when you weren't, you try to do your own thing, things got bad. With that, though, I'm excited to see what this defense looks like next week. Clearly, it wasn't good enough, and this game was not good enough for the Lions, right? We are expecting wins, but I was pleased with a lot of things. There are a lot of things I'm excited about, but hey, look, that's football. There's a lot of close games in the NFL. So just saying that we were close, that's good, is not good. That's not. You'll get fired on that. We've had a lot of coaches in the past that have played close games, and it just did not last because that's not winning football games. Close does not matter. We could have lost this game by 50. We're still 0-1, and that's the unfortunate nature, but it doesn't matter. We played a lot of close games last year, too, and we're like, man, if we made one play here, it didn't matter. Did not matter. We still lost. So that's not going to matter. However, I think there are the thing that I like about this one is there are legitimately things that I can say that looked really good. Like the offense legitimately looks like a problem. The run game looks as advertised, and Swift looked awesome. Shout out to Swift. And at the same time, defensively, there was some really marks that I feel like we didn't always see last year. Like Okudah, it was like, oh, Okudah can play, and I know he can play. Just being able to see him, and it's like, okay, Okudah can do some things. Malcolm looked legitimate, and it was awesome to see in the first time game. Hutchinson can get pressure. There was one early where he just bulldozed an offensive tackle, and he was there, and it was awesome. Hutch got beat a couple times in the run game. I think there was even a tight end one time that kind of got the best of him, and I was like, okay, Hutch, dang, this is the NFL, huh? It's a little different, but he was also a legitimate problem in the inside too against the run sometimes, where he would shed, get where he's supposed to be, and you're like, oh, there he is. He's just got to, like, it's different, man. You got to finish in here. You got to finish some of those plays, and everybody as a whole in the interior knows that. There was opportunities to get off. I will say one last thing. I don't completely understand how that last play is not like even considered a fumble. Like, I mean, I just don't get it because from what I saw, the all 22 angle was much better. When you see it, it's like, okay, he needed to get to the I think it was the 41 or the 39, right? He needed the yard, and he lunged over. So why are we counting the reach out? Because he didn't reach as he laid down. He laid down then reached out. Why are we counting that reach out and not the fumble aspect? It died immediately as soon as he reached out. Like, is that how it works? I don't know, because he wasn't down. I'm just saying. It is what it is. Okay, it is what it is. I'm just throwing it out there. But the point is, Lions, they got work to do. But there are things that I'm inspired about with this game. It was going to be difficult. This is a heck of a team. I think it's going to be a good team, so we'll see how that goes. But luckily, we won't have to play a team like this again, I think. But I think what it should do is it really should get everybody like, okay, we got to be on it, because there were so many self-inflicted things here. This can't be the case again, because we will not win many games. You will not be good teams with this many mistakes, even at home. Not going to beat teams when you're making this many self-mistakes. So that's got to be cleaned up. The Lions got another home game. They should bounce back. That should be their goal. They should expect to bounce back, because you should. I mean, you show what you could do. You should expect that you bounce back and win. You back-to-back home games. You should not lose back-to-back home games to come out of the season. So we'll talk about that one more, probably dive into more specifics. Let me know what you guys want me to dive into specifically. It's kind of my overview of this one. Lions lose 38-35 to the Eagles, and thank you for watching, and I'm out. I will throw this in here real quick, because number one, I do think it shows just the personnel differences. Like, the Lions had guys, they had soldiers that they could go battle with in this one. They fell behind, but they had guys to bounce back. Then they have guys to bounce back against the Packers or the Eagles and whoever it was last year when they fell in a hole. They didn't have it, whether it was because their offensive line was banged up, they didn't have weapons, and also in this game, if you just watched a film of it, the entire scheme was changed basically at this point. It wasn't like that this past game.